Welcome to True Real Estate 911 with your local real estate pro, Lisa Treu. And Lisa, you're bringing forth a story that was put forward by the New York Times that ties in a bunch of the different analytics that we've talked about recently when you're taking a look at the comparison about renting and buying. And this was a great article and a great piece. And I know that you want to share a lot of the valuable information that especially younger people need to be listening to, but also anybody that's at a fairly affordable price point in terms of housing. And before we get into it, just want to remind you, if you're not already at the Treu's website, go there and get started. Best local resource that you're going to find for real estate information, including the ability to search the MLS like a real estate agent. You know, it's funny, Lisa, actually on that note, there was a service that was being offered around on a monthly subscription basis for us to be able to access the MLS for $50 per month.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
And I just laughed because I'm like, well, now somebody's actually applying a tangible value to what you offer everybody for free.
Yes.
Somebody else is selling this service for $50 per month.
Yes.
Per month. So anyway, there you go. A service valued at a $50 per month level for free at the Treu's website. The Treu's pay for it, so you don't, is the bottom line. And also buying, selling, questions, anything you need. 7 days a week. The Treu's are there for you. 561-972-8326. 561-972-8326. So, Lisa, this has been a narrative that we've been talking about for a number of months, in part because rent rates have continued to rise. Mortgage rates actually came down a bit more. And real estate prices have been fairly moderate in terms of appreciation here of late. You put it all together, it's a pretty big recipe for buying.
Yes, I mean, it's really like the perfect storm of opportunity for somebody that is looking to create long-term wealth. And in certain situations, I mean, it's just crazy not to be looking at buying. We have a really great tool available to us where we can put in all of the information, you know, the specifics, and it will tell us should you, from just a pure formula perspective, buy or continue to rent. And I really haven't seen any equations where anytime that we've tested this or put in someone's situation where the solution was to continue being a renter.
Well, one of the reasons that renting had been so popular as an investment, so people buying real estate for the purpose of renting it out, and as you'd articulated, like the big funds that were in there buying and taking that approach, they were locked in for 7 years. This was a long-term strategy for them. It's because there was a good return for them, not for you as the renter. And when you take a look at some of the considerations a couple of years ago when a lot of that was popular from the investment side, the dynamic was different. To begin with, rent rates hadn't risen double digits at that point, which they have since. And the mortgage products that are available, because if you didn't have 20% to put down 2-3 years ago, well, maybe you weren't going to be able to get a mortgage, or at least 10% a couple of years ago. And these days, well, if you have first, last, and security, you probably have 3%, and you can get a mortgage for that, right?
You can get a 3%, down payment conventional loan, where before you were forced into the FHA product, and not all types of properties could qualify for an FHA product. And so now, if it's your primary residence, you have more options. If you have good credit and you have the income to support it, you can get a loan. And it just makes absolute sense to get out of that rent, because what we're finding is not only do you have to look at the rising rent rates, but also the cost of moving every year. Because often you're moving whether you want to or not,
Sure.
Because the seller says, okay, I want to sell now, and now you're forced to move. So all those costs have to kind of be factored into being a renter.
Or the best case scenario has been, and here's a 7 to 8% increase. So even if you get a stay, you're having to pay that much more. And, it was interesting. One of the issues that I'm trying to combat with information with younger people is along the lines of being a bit more financially engaged. So the one great thing that we've seen with a lot of younger people, those who actually have gotten on their feet, they're on a career path, earning full-time incomes and such, the money they do have that's extra, they're saving it, but they are just piling away in cash, which is the single worst thing you can do. And so there are two things, both of which are the best paths forward for people that they are avoiding in mass. And that is home ownership and investing in the stock market. And neither one of those are in their best interest. And I was actually having a conversation, email conversation with the listener not too terribly long ago, a younger person, early 30s, that said, well, this is the conservative approach to rent, to not be tied down, not to. And I said, well, think about this. What has your rent been doing? Is your income growing 7, 8% per year to keep up with your rent rate increases? No. So every year, the same roof over your head is costing you more. Wouldn't it be more conservative if you cost controlled the roof over your head? And so if you know you're going to be in the area for a minimum of a few years, it is a conservative approach to ensure that you know what your monthly obligation is going to be.
It puts all the control back in your hands. And, I think that a lot of our millennial or younger buyers are afraid of, well, what if we have a market crash again? And yet, first of all, you have to understand the differences of last time versus this time. And we're not saying to you, buy something you can't afford. As a matter of fact, we always tell our first-time home buyers, this is your first home, not your dream home.
Right.
Which
can be difficult, especially based upon how you grew up.
Yes. You may have to come in and give up the granite or the stainless steel,
Right.
and come in and build a little equity. I mean, our first home was, looking back, was a disaster. And, over the years, we came in and redid it and updated it. And then the next home, we were able to get our dream home. And so it's a process. And yet, if you don't start and get in the game, you never start to build equity in your own future. When you look at the net worth of people that own homes and people that don't, it's staggering, the difference. So conservatively, and Steve and I are very financially conservatively getting into that option, if you can afford it and you have a good job and a stable future, only makes sense.
Yeah, if you take a look at it, it's all about numbers. I never will put forward something that I wouldn't do myself. And
Agreed.
If I didn't own a home right now, I absolutely would be in the market to buy. And when you take a look at the sheer historic numbers that are out there, as it pertains to real estate, on average, it will appreciate 4% per year. Now, in South Florida, historically, it's even been a little bit above that. That's a national average. South Florida, because it's more desirable, it's been closer to 5 over the years, over the decades, than even the 4, but take it at 4. So what's going to happen over the course of 3 years?
Right.
What's going to happen over the course of 5 years? So that's where it doesn't take long before it starts to be able to provide a positive rate of return if you did need to sell. And the other factor, and this is different these days, I don't remember rent rates that used to rise above the rate of inflation.
Right.
But they have been now for 4 consecutive years.
Right.
And so when you are talking about the cost of renting rising as fast as it has been, let alone, whether you're getting bounced around every month or every year, that just makes it much worse.
Mm-hmm.
That as well further incentivizes what's already in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it is, the markets are encouraging us. And I'll tell you, the other thing we're watching is, what is the impact that the past couple of winters have had? What will that impact our real estate market down here? Because I can tell you, this year in particular, and I expect moving forward, the interest in Florida real estate as a direct impact of the winter that they experienced is on the topic of many of our Northeastern friends. So, and they're not just buying in active adult communities. They are buying a variety of properties. So it's one of the things that we are encouraging you before the start of the winter selling season, which usually starts in August or September. If you're thinking of making a purchase, this summer may be a really good time to do that.
Well, and you take a look at this summer in particular, and there are a couple things that typically we associate with that, families that are going to relocate and the like. But when you're talking about a lot of the entry level properties that you're talking about with some of the younger first time home buyers, it actually is interesting because many of those prices actually are more in line with what you're talking about with snowbirds. So in some sense, you're actually probably timing it right for not competing necessarily with as many of those individuals if you get a jump on it pretty early this summer.
Yes, you definitely want to beat that September timeframe, because I feel that September, October, November, which is always historically busier for the person who wants to use it in the season, I feel that they are going to be very purposeful to make sure they have a place to go to this coming winter. They're here now. They're still looking. They're still buying. But I think that last push will come at that time frame. So if you are looking especially for a condo or an active adult community, you definitely want to be very diligent this summer.
Actually, something I wanted to ask you that you just triggered. Have you started to see some snowbirds that have decided that it's time to move up to stay?
We are, and I'll tell you, we're also seeing the people that have not retired buying getaway homes at a faster rate.
Okay.
Because they know they're not at retirement yet, and yet they want a place to escape to several times in in a season.
However many storms they see coming.
Yes, and so we are seeing that particular segment of the market increase based on this past winter for sure.
Okay, so there are several interesting storylines there, but a lot of it is a positive for real estate in our area, and we did benefit last year. We did not see much in line of home price appreciation in our area. So with the mortgage rates having come down and with prices that are pretty tame right now in many different places on a net basis, if you're financing, it's actually cheaper to buy today than it was a year ago.
It is cheaper to buy today. It's a better value. And so it's a great opportunity, and we have some properties that are going to be coming on the market. We've got some great coming soon properties. If you are sitting still waiting, you need to stop that. You need to call us. You need to get in and do a consultation. We need to get you in the marketplace to take advantage of it. We don't know what the future brings with prices and interest rates, but we know right now, today, it is a great time to be a buyer in Palm Beach County.
And if you are looking to become a buyer, and for that matter, if you're selling, you have questions, the Treus, they help you anyway. But 561-972-8326. But seriously, whether it's you, it's your kids, this is an important message because this is a fairly important time with regard to all of the conditions looking the way they do. As Lisa said, we don't know exactly what the next move is, but the likelihood that all of these are going to be together like this for much longer, outside of potentially a handful of months, that is definitely less certain. So to take advantage of this opportunity, reach out to Treu. 561-972-8326. Can always get started at TreuRealEstate911.com. Can even look at the MLS like a real estate agent does right there at TreuRealEstate911.com.